by Evelyn to approve the minutes of last month's meeting, and a second by Edna.
Suppose we can hear me this month.
What's that?
I suppose we can hear me this month and go ahead and make that motion.
And I'll second that.
There's standing orders. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I have a bunch of stuff here, and I've got to try and wade my way through it. Who wants to go first? Mike, you're...
Everybody got a copy of the agenda?
Yeah.
Shouldn't take much more than an hour, I'll be quick. Okay. The first one's pretty easy, just, some normal budgeting we did for some computers and licenses, we're requesting permission to the resolution to transfer money from the computer reserve fund to the appropriate funds to pay for them. I will point out, however, it was just noted today that perhaps some of my codes might not be correct.
Is, Jim covering up that microphone?
Yeah,
Cause I can barely
can't hear
hear
you.
It might be an IT thing.
Alright, you hear me now? So the first one was a resolution to transfer money from the computer reserve fund. It was just noticed this morning by Joanne McKinstry, some of my code numbers might not be correct, and she's trying to confirm with the treasurer's office, but she wasn't able to, so she told me to proceed as they're written, and then she would deal with that in the finance committee when she can find out from the treasurer's office. But these were all anticipated expenses that we budgeted for.
I'll make a motion.
So did,
Can we get a motion to do all three?
Motion to all three.
Motion made by Evelyn. Second by Ron. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Then under pending items, I was asked to come back to do an update on the conference that we're sending Jeremy Schreimer, senior programmer, to find out what the lodging would be. $417 for the lodging, and then his meals are covered except for dinners that we would have to cover. So that's the update for what the lodging would cost. Then I was asked to do a little review of tablets, if there was a thought of using tablets in the future for the board. So I kind of wrote down my notes down here so that everybody could review them at any time, but it really kind of comes down to how they would be used. There was a thought about being able to write them. It looks, when you watch television, they show the commercials writing on them. To do that, it really means having a dedicated tablet per person, because it's actually a document saved per person. So if you were going to do that, you wouldn't be sharing anything. But on the same breath, we're also working on something in IT we had asked for and gotten our new programming language, which we're getting into right now, and we're able to do a lot more than we used to, and it might actually provide a way to kind of do that type of thing where you're not writing on PDFs, but allow you to save locations of PDFs and attach notes to them, and it would be available on any device. That's something we're working on, so I can't tell you exactly what tablet we would use, but I was asked to give a price of what tablets might be with the writing on, so I don't know what discussion or questions anybody has regarding that.
Rachel?
I think for a long time now, I remember Bud Taylor telling me that he brought it up years ago about going paperless. And at the time, there wasn't enough support on the board for that. But given just the volumes of paper that we're getting, and also the extra time that it takes Amanda's office in terms of putting everything together, it just seems to me like we're at a point where we could really seriously consider going paperless. As paperless as possible. But one of those first steps, you see it with other municipalities. They do have tablets. They seem to be incredibly efficient as well. I'm not saying it's the magic key that's going to make us all very efficient, but I think it would go a long ways in helping do that. So I don't know how the committee feels about it, if there's enough support to move forward with the paperless and starting to get tablets out. But I know it's been an initiative of Amanda's last year, years ago Bud's, and certainly one this year of several supervisors.
Yeah, on the IT side of it, with our change in our programming, we're actually able to start that process now. But to tell you what tablet to get at this point is premature to say which one would work with it. We want to be able to develop something and then test some tablets. So on the IT side of it, if we had, because we just started this, a few months down the road, we could give you a really good idea. But the question was about the writing on stuff, so I would just have the summary of, what kind of tablet would work for that.
Yes, sir.
Could we do it and have just a few people try it, and then if, enough of us try it, and then...
That is actually my plan.
And just sort of adopt it as we go.
Yeah, actually, my plan was if we develop it, we try it ourselves and pick a few people to express interest to try it before we start rolling it out to say, how's this gonna work before we come to the full group and say, hey, this is out there to try and work it up. It's always worked better that way.
And what kind of games are these things gonna have on them? Oh, sorry. Claudia?
Any approvals I get.
No, I was just saying, that idea of if you need a guinea pig, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
It'll be really helpful because, I like to access the minutes and we don't get paper versions of the minutes, which is fine. But a way to have all of that stuff together in one thing, instead of me lugging my paper files around, it would be nice to not have to do that. And make us more efficient, we can look back on things that have happened and we can probably search the words electronically, we're not missing things all the time.
What Claudia is talking about is that big thing she was lugging around for a while. But actually, a couple of years ago, I and Rachel and I both talked about sort of having a library where you could go in and get documents, excuse me, that, that have been, like, for example, we're doing the court building. If we actually had that online, instead of having the paper that your desk after a while starts to pile up and you can't find anything anyway. If you could go into this library, pick it out, look at it, and then put it back there, or keep it on your computer rather than doing, and that just hasn't gone anywhere. But
Yeah, that's actually what we're starting now, because there's volumes of documents on the website. It's just managing it. How does one person manage what they're looking for? And once they found it, how do they find it again? And that's what we're doing right now, that with the change we just made, we'll now be able to do that, and that's what we're trying to make it, so it's easy to find it. Once you found it, it's a favorite, I can type some notes of my own, and it doesn't matter if you're using your phone, your tablet, your computer, that it would come up for you, and that's what we're trying to make right now.
Because for the longest time, since I was on the Common Council 10 years ago, I've scanned a lot of stuff into my computer just because it becomes useless. It's sort of like the Smithsonian and Raiders of the Lost Ark. It gets put into the warehouse and I can't find it. So I do have a lot of stuff, but it just takes forever to scan stuff in. So what you're talking about would make, I could go paperless, and it actually makes you not just more efficient, but if there are things I'll go in and find, I'll go, oh yeah, I forgot that. So it makes your decision making better.
I think by law you have to have printed copies of agendas for meetings, documents, and also paper is recyclable. I'm looking right at this garbage can right here. There's a whole pile of agendas that people just throw right out. So, yeah, you guys use a lot of paper, but paper is recyclable. It can be reused, and it just gets thrown right out.
So are electrons,
I know.
I think. What's that?
I didn't hear that.
Electrons.
Oh.
We have a basket up there for electrons when people are done with them. Did you have something to say?
I just wanted to mention, I am working with Rob Hosford of the IT department now. He's setting up a new folder subsystem so that we'll be able to go back and archive the committee minutes, but it'll also be all the agendas. So it won't be, right now we're only putting up just the current agendas because that's all we have room for. But we are working on a new structure where even for the board meetings, you'll see the video, then the minutes, then any documents that are distributed, and we'll be doing that for everything. So we are rolling that out.
That'd be good.
And as far as the tablets, it would be an efficiency. It won't be a cost saving. So there is a clear line there. Paper is recyclable and it's fairly inexpensive. It would take us a long time to recover the cost of the tablet, which is something we don't have budgeted right now. So I don't know if it's a better idea to hold off on that until budget time, and that way it gives the IT department more time to roll out what they're working on, plus it gives us time for plan for the expense, because I don't have money in my budget to buy tablets right now, unless it's something you wanted to transfer. But I think it's something that's in the works that we can keep working on, but to say that we could just buy tablets tomorrow to start testing out, I don't think it's not a planned expense for sure.
I have a couple of iPads. If you can make it so those of us who already have computers or have it, we can sort of test it out using our own thing.
Yep, that's the plan we're
And
working
then, then the county could expend it.
Your hand up.
Yes, it is. It gets tired, I have to rest it once in a while.
I remember that from high school. Evelyn?
I'm just thinking that perhaps Amanda's suggestion as a certain amount of weight. Also, I think if we're gonna make this move, we're gonna need to develop a policy. These are county-owned pieces of equipment. You're gonna have to sign them out to certain people, make sure you get them back. We're gonna need to address confidential documents. You know, there's a host of issues I can see. It's not necessarily a bad thing to be looking at, but I think that we should hold off until we've really fully addressed how we would implement that system. You know, I'm looking at $800 a piece and thinking to myself, you know, that's an iPad is like $4.
Well, we don't have to invent the wheel. Doesn't Saratoga County use? Yeah, I think there's probably
Well, I
existing
think we
models
should
out there.
look at our developing a policy for, you know, how we're going to assign them and then make sure we get them back. And I don't know if we're gonna have to sign an agreement when to take them to use them, stating we're not, you know, if it's confidential, we're not forwarding it out to the whole wide world. I know that doesn't necessarily always work with us anyway, but I think that, you know, it's something we're gonna have to look at. There's more to it than just the programs working. There's a lot of other things that go into it as well.
Rachel?
I know that Supervisor Simpson had brought up in shared services when an email went out about ideas that maybe this could be something with a cost saving or sharing mechanism with the towns, or, you know, he had brought, and I don't wanna speak on his behalf, I just know an email went out about that. But I agree, you know, anything that we can move to start taking some steps towards this becoming a reality versus just discussion, over the last several years, you know, Don Lehman makes a good point, paper is recyclable, it's probably not gonna be a cost savings method, but will it be an efficiency? And, you know, maybe it is worth just starting to try it out and get a report back, you know, as you proceed with it.
Do you wanna move on to your newsletter?
Yeah, then the other thing, I don't come to committee very often, because there's a lot of IT stuff going on, and it was mentioned to me how, you know, there's a lot of things we do just because it's our daily job, but it'd be nice to share those details so you understand everything we're doing. So, I heard State of the Union not so long ago, and I went, the state of IT or the state of it. And so, I thought, well, I'll just put together a little newsletter to send out every 3 months, give or take, as we try this out. And then I decided, well, I got the back side of it, so I'll just do a summary of the last meetings that fit within a page, the most current first, with the things I've asked for or we talked about, and what the current status was as of the day I'm typing it. So just a way to kind of share and keep up to date, because I don't come that often, it would be easier for everybody to look at and see what, oh, you asked for this 6 months ago, where did it get done, and things of that nature. So I just stole it off the TV,
Very good.
Looks good.
so that's what that's for.
Thanks, Mike. You know you could take longer if you put it up on the screen and read it to us.
Well, speaking of which, I was asked how to make that work. We can do it if I wanted to show what it would really mean. So the device can't, I looked at maybe it'd be wireless, it'd be moved around and whatnot, it doesn't really work. But what would work is an extension port on there. But before we went and did it, 'cause I'd have to make another wire that goes with this for power, however, it would just be, you know, this would be sitting here working, there'd be a hook, it would sit there. And if you really wanted to use it on a table, it's just a lead port that would spread out and you could put the camera wherever you wanted to. But I wanted to find out if there was interest of it working that way, that this lead cord would come out as needed, or just leave it there, either way.
Rachel?
I think that's a great idea. Earlier today, when we had, Ross and the agendas up on the screen, you saw a lot of people watching them, reading it, but more importantly, it is on YouTube. It's something that the person watching it from their own computer could actually see the agenda, see the exhibits and things that were attached with it. Certainly sometimes while we are making a lot of copies, they're not, in a hot topic, we don't have enough copies for everybody.
Yep.
But I do think that that was a nice touch this morning, and
Okay.
would love to be able to see it happen on a regular basis.
So yeah, within a week we
That's
should
just my
have this
feeling.
here, it'll be all hooked up and work normal, and then if you needed it, we just move, just like using the air pump at Stewart's. You just coil it up when you're done.
If it's gonna be like that, it's gonna need to be rewound by somebody every afternoon.
The projector right there, it's a camera that a document projector, you put your paper under it and it displays up on the wall. But to make it a little more flexible and used anywhere
You
besides
do
just
bird
there.
things.
Give us training on that too?
Sure.
Do that.
It's online.
And that's all I had.
66.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
You catch my drift?
So who would like to be next? Would you like to get out of the way because we're gonna have fight over it? Oh, okay. By all means.
Okay, thank you so much. Talking about paper and things like that, I know we sent our
agendas through the mail,
Right.
emails to you, and they were posted. So I don't know if you print them out at home. Do you anyone need the agenda for today? Are we all set? This is for County Clerk D&B. I'll pop you one right here if you would like. Alrighty. Mr. Chairman, you do have a packet next to you that says Chairman, and it has our agenda and it has the items in it. So we have two matters to bring to you today. One is a resolution, from the board, that would be, supportive of, a DMV retention increase, which is currently in the legislature right now. These bills do have the support of our representatives, Assemblyman Dan Steck, and also full support of Senator Little. They are starting to move, in the Senate. Now, basically, very briefly, and what I tried to express, in a few words in our communication was that, county DMVs generate a significant amount of revenue for the county, and that comes from a percentage of the fees on transactions. So we currently get 12.7% of a transaction. This fee was established back in 1999. There have been a few efforts over time to get that raised, but it has not happened. They are beginning to move. There has been a new proposal. The one in the Senate that's moving right now is by Senator Ritchie. She is a former county clerk from St. Lawrence County. So she has been promoting that. So basically, what the hope would be is as these move along that we could, after all these years, get an increase in there. Senator Ritchie is supporting this at 25%. And this isn't just a gift. Please understand that this is the work that we do, that our employees are doing for our residents and for people that come into the Warren County DMV. We generate about $450,000 a year currently. That could rise into, it's very complex, the inner workings of how these retentions work. And so generally speaking, you're looking at, a potential increase of, in the to 800,000. We do, but as good as that 450 is to us right now, we are seeing slight drops, and that is as a result of certain transactions that are allowed to go online. The bill that as I understand it, does have a small increase for the internet. Right now, we're receiving 2.5% once we meet the threshold. Again, there's things about this that it can be quite complex. The proposed legislation is not about raising fees to pay for it. It's about getting more equity, something more equitable for the counties who are providing this service and the work. Basically, so much of what we do there, we must do in our office. They are the type of transactions that are not going to be done, online. Probably never will be. It would have to be a long stretch before some of these. So they are the more detailed, involved transactions. Certainly we welcome the simpler, easier to process transactions, but at 60,000 transactions a year, that's what we're talking about. So we certainly do hope that, and keep in mind, when our representatives and when the governor is talking about, that tax cap that you guys are faced with coming in under, this money would stay here. It does stay here currently. That 450 is in your general fund, and it definitely has a place in balancing our budget, as well as keeping that tax money right here. When we pull retention, we do it the same day, basically same day, next day. So it's residing here. It's not going to the state, and you're not waiting for it to come back. It's staying right here. So I think there's a lot of positives to it. I don't, obviously, having taxpayers' money remain right here in Warren County is a good thing. And, I hope that, you know, we're successful across the state in getting the support for it, and obviously within the legislative committees. So we're gonna be watching it. We would appreciate very much, the board, approving a reso, to, in support of these, retention increase, and forwarding that to appropriate people at the state, including the governor, as well as the New York State Association of County Clerks. I've heard, you know, I haven't been on top of it every minute, but I know of at least a dozen or so counties. There's 51 of us that, of course, operate DMVs. So that's my, information as it stands right now. I invite, questions if you have them, and I certainly do hope for your support.
Well, I wanna apologize for occasionally directing my money directly to the state. That usually happens about half an hour after the officer tells me my sticker's the wrong color when I get home. Mr. Leggett, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, so somebody's gonna lose out on getting that extra 12.3%. If we increase from 12.7% to 25%, our cut, who doesn't get that money?
Well, right now it goes into a state general fund. And, in speaking with, the various legislators, what we really want is it to stay here, because ultimately, if it stays here, we're able to affect, you know, the, you know, our budget here. Now, there are things coming through, and I think coming down the pike, that, you know, you're going to probably be seeing mandates for, and perhaps some additional expenses that the state is perhaps saying to you right now, to the counties, you're going to be covering this. You would know those better than I. I've heard some rumblings, and I think even the Public Defender's Office just a little while ago was speaking about that. You know, you are going to have to face it one way or another down the road. The revenue that comes from a DMV transaction stays here and can help you with that. So that would be, we are not anticipating a fee increase, you know, in the DMV. This accounts for, while to us it's a huge amount of money, I mean, increasing us from, say, 450 rather than dropping, but actually going up, that, the overall 30 million against 150 billion is a small, portion. So, I'm sure that all of those questions are going to be raised down there. That's what we've been talking with, the Assemblyman and the Senator about. So, we're watching it move very carefully.
Make a motion if we go forward?
I got a second by Mr. Montesi. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And you have one more thing for us?
Yes, one more thing is, New York State Association of County Clerks, their summer conference will take place down in Poughkeepsie. You know, I do have an agenda, it's a tentative agenda, it's June 5th through 8th. Usually we spend either a day or two at that conference. And that is, of course, budgeted in our 1410-444 code. So I appreciate, that being approved. The GSA rate is 104, and this one is, nightly is 102. So we'll be looking at max about 204, possibly.
Rachel?
I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Rachel, second by Edna. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Are you done with us?
I am done, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Oh, sure, I didn't know if you have a different.
I'm Herb Levin from the Weights and Measure Department. I'm looking for permission to travel to Syracuse June 6th through the 10th. It's an annual training school, Monday through Friday. The cost is $497.50. That includes lodging and meals, all meals. And also, because of our New York State Petroleum Quality Program, we get a rebate of 4 hours because we're training in petroleum. So that approximately $100 goes into the general fund as revenue. It's well under the GSA rate.
Motion by Mr. Montesi, second by Evelyn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Peter?
I just had a question for Herb.
Sure.
Always wondered about this when you know, you do scales, okay, you verify scales and how they work. The scales that are at the checkout counters at Price Chopper and, those work.
Absolutely.
They do.
Then they have to be within tolerance.
They do.
And tolerance is generally 2/100ths of a pound, which is very, very light.
So in your experience, they're accurate when you recheck?
And they're inspected once a year. All scales in supermarkets, the meat scale, the cheese scale, the registers, they're all inspected.
Except for the finger that the guy puts on the scale.
Yeah, but then there's
the
a little
thing
old lady
underneath
that lifts up too, so.
Peter's got the scale at home, he's gonna check it on his own.
My wife keeps wanting me to check her scale, but that's dangerous.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
There's other things I do too. For instance, we just through New York State Weights and Measures, we just inspected for skimmers in gas pumps. It would be you know, in the card readers, there's such a thing. Skimmers which would steal someone's credit card information. It's all Bluetooth. The criminal could be up to a half mile away and transmitting all of your information into his computer. So we did a statewide sweep of that.
Just another question, since you brought up, you know, gasoline, the device on the receptacle, in terms of 1.1 gallons or what, are they accurate?
Absolutely.
They are, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then another question, and this is probably not your area,
You only got permission to ask you one, Peter.
when you buy leaded or unleaded or octane plus, does anyone ever check those things?
That's the Petroleum Quality Program.
I see.
We go out every month and take samples. The samples go down to a lab. The lab comes back. Right now, for instance, we're having a little bit of an issue with 91 octane without ethanol. It sometimes comes out 90 octane. So we have a little bit of an issue with the supplier down in Malta.
I bought a chainsaw a week or two ago, and I bought the pre-mixed gasoline, which has the oil in it, but the pre-mix did not have any ethanol in it at all, which, according to the bottle, indicated that it's better for your engine not to have
Absolutely.
ethanol.
Absolutely.
Ethanol is not good for your engine.
Ethanol is a solvent, and what it does is it dissolves the rubber hoses or gaskets in a small engine. So no, ethanol is really not good for your vehicle.
Thank you.
Losing our quorum.
I have one more question.
No more for
Did
today.
you find skimmers?
I'll move
Did you
for
find a lot of
adjournment.
skimmers?
No, we got
Can't.
another, we got an attorney.
There was,
We're not done yet,
a
Rob.
dozen across New York State from Niagara County down to Westchester.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have just a couple of things. I'm going to withdraw number 2 on my agenda here. The first one is to allow us to have Terry McGar continue. She originally was here for 12 weeks. She's agreed to give us 6 more weeks part-time. She's been critical to the operation of the office. We would not be able to get the resolutions done without her, so I'd like to continue her.
Resolution by,
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
resolution by him, seconded by her. You got all that down?
There are,
Such formality.
Yeah, right.
What?
may I? I'm trying to follow our rules and waiting to be called on before I shout out stuff.
Okay. Let me try this. Supervisor Seaver?
That's on my rage. Thanks. Hey, Brian, what's the cost with that, to extend it for an additional 6 weeks? I just don't see a
cost?
I have a transfer at the end, but she's getting 25 an hour, and she's approved for, 18, I think it's up to 20 hours. She's been doing 18 hours a week.
And we
I
vote,
have the money in my budget, and that's what the transfer is for.
did we vote on that already?
No, not yet.
No, he made the motion, she seconded it.
Right. Now we'll vote on it.
Well, maybe. Are you asking to say something, Jim, or are you ready to
No, I
vote?
was anticipating your,
Okay.
I was gonna vote yes.
Everybody that wants to vote in favor of this thing, now.
Aye.
Opposed?
You make it
Carried.
look hard.
I just have a question though. What, you said, why are you?
Go ahead,
withdraw-
Rachel.
I know, I was just trying to follow the rules. I took a page out of Ron's book over there.
Talking about you. Yes?
Thank you. You said you're withdrawing number 2. Is that something that you need, or you decide you don't need it, or?
No, I do need it, I need to, but I think I need to go to finance and have further discussions to be able to get it passed at this point.
Wouldn't it come from this committee onto finance? Or you can just go right to finance?
I think I can go right to finance because it's an immediate need, but I need to have more discussions to be able to get it passed.
Okay.
Number 3 on my, I'm sorry Supervisor, is that all your questions on that one?
Give her time.
You didn't raise your hand.
You didn't raise yours right there. I'm all over you. I'm gonna show you how to,
Long days.
I'm glad I'm on this side.
I'm gonna put your cell phone on silent too, if you let me play with it. Yes, I'm fine, thanks.
Number 3 is, notice to fill. I'm looking for approval to fill an assistant county attorney. I did receive an acceptance of an offer. It's a budgeted position at $70,029 a year. I had made an offer to one of the attorneys I interviewed, and she accepted yesterday, so I'd like to fill that position and get her in here. Need the help.
Motion by Edna,
No, I don't know she is, do you?
what, second by Ron. You ready?
I thought there was part of the condition of, the employment was that Brian was supposed to do it all on his own.
It's not working.
Not
Yeah.
working.
He needs a little help.
Is it okay to identify her, Brian, or not? Is that good? Or do you wanna wait on that?
I would like to, I would like to notify the people that I did not hire first. I anticipate doing that today.
Additional questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
And the, number 4, on here is the, transfer of funds. I have the money in my budget. This is going to allow me to fund Terry's position for the 6 more weeks. And I also anticipate, trying to create another part-time position, before the May meeting, going through finance. That would, those funds would be in that transfer as well. I'm looking for authority to do that.
Is that a motion, you need 2 for that?
I believe I do.
Motion by Ron, second by Edna. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And there's one further thing, Mr. Chairman, it's not on here,
Have you
but
been taking lessons from Rachel?
I am, yes.
Poor guy.
I'm not sure whether I need this, this approval or not, because it seems to be a little unclear from the policy. I have a provisional legal assistant, Lainey Morgan, now in my office. She's been serving that position provisionally. She took the test. She's number 1 on the list. I want to appoint her permanent to that position. I don't know whether I need approval to do that, but I better ask for it, and then if I needed it, I don't have to wait.
We don't, Amanda, we don't,
You don't need approval.
Oh, then I won't move.
Thanks for trying.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anything else come before the committee?
no.
Yeah, well,
Motion to adjourn? Who's ordering dinner?